Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I am Brian, and today we're going to be going over this Pecron E2000 lithium iron phosphate power station. Okay gang, so this power station has a lot going for it, and it's got a few quirks that I want to demonstrate to you folks if you're in the market for a 2000 watt and above power station. So this Pecron has recently become very popular in the power station market because of the price point and the battery chemistry that they put inside of this thing. So again, this is a lithium iron phosphate battery, and it's rated up to 1920 watt hours, and also with a continuous 2000 watt inverter built into this thing, capable of up to 4000 watt surge for a very short brief period of time, but 2000 continuous running watts is what this thing is capable of. Just to get it out of the way, right now this thing on Amazon is selling for $1,299. That puts this thing at the lowest price point per watt hour for any power station that I've ever reviewed, at around 67 cents a watt hour. That is extremely cheap for this type of chemistry and what you get in this entire package. So with this being lithium iron phosphate, Pecron is claiming you get up to 3,500 charge, discharge, charge cycles until you get to only 80% of the original usable capacity. So after 3,500 cycles, that battery is going to diminish by 20%. It's much better than lithium ion or NMC battery station chemistries that only get between 500 and 1,000 cycles. But this thing comes in at a really nice little footprint. It's 48 pounds, so it's not something that's light. You're not going to lug this around in the woods or in a tent. You can, and I have done it on several episodes on my other channel, mainly because it is the smallest 2000 watt hour power station that I've ever had the privilege of having here in the shop. And just for size comparison, I'll put this up next to my Bluetti AC200 Max, and you can see just how much smaller it actually is. So here's the Bluetti AC200 Max, and you can tell the Bluetti is much taller, it's much longer, and it's much wider than the Pecron is. Now the Bluetti's got a few more watt hours baked inside this thing, so it's not exactly apples to apples, but I would consider both of these to be a 2000 watt hour power station. And the other really cool thing about this power station is it's expandable at up to over 8,000 watt hours. So you can connect up to 2 other expandable batteries to this unit over here on the side. There's a port, and I'll show it to you folks, but you can buy up to 2 again to create an 8,000 watt hour battery station that you literally could run an RV off of, a lot of small appliances in the event of a power outage. It's just a great ability to expand this thing to really get you through a weekend if you have to. And the expandable batteries come in at around $14.99, and of course they are lithium iron phosphate. I don't have an expandable battery to show you guys how it works, how the charging works, but just know that they are available. So when you get this unit, you know, of course you're going to get the power station, and it comes with actually a pretty nice little case that's going to carry all of your charging cords and your brick. So that is one reason this unit, I believe, is able to be so compact and small, is because you do have to carry around a charging brick, unlike the Bluetti AC200, which has that charging brick built inside of it. This guy, which is not a small charging brick. This has to be plugged into the wall and then into the Pecron to actually charge it up via AC. So talking about the AC charging capabilities, there are 2 ports on the front. You've got 2, what I'm going to call aviation style ports right here on the front, and that's going to be your main inputs for your AC charging and your solar charging. And you also have a 5521 port up top that can be used as a solar charging option as well for a smaller 100 watt solar panel. And what I mean by that, guys, is, and this is very unique with this power station, this thing has 2 MPPT controllers built inside of it. So you can essentially triple charge this power station using the 5521 barrel port and a 100 watt solar panel, which this port is capable of up to 100 watts max, 12 to 18 volts. So if you have a smaller 100 watt solar panel with a little barrel plug with a little 5521 port on the end of your solar panel, you can plug that into this 5521 input and charge up to 100 watts, not exceeding 18 volts. You can also plug in up to 600 watts each on each one of these aviation ports. So that means you can get up to, in theory, 1,300 watts worth of solar, because you got 600 on one port, 600 on the other port, and up to 100 watts on this top 5521 port. But you have to keep in mind on these two aviation style ports that are 600 watts apiece, they are rated at 32 to 95 volts. So you can't plug in a 100 watt solar panel to these aviation style ports and start to charge this unit. If you do, you're gonna think this thing's broken because it's not gonna accept any charge because you didn't get up to that minimum 32 volts to begin charging. So with these two aviation style ports, if you have a couple of 100 watts, you might be able to connect those in series to get the 32 minimum volts required, or if you have two 200 watt solar panels, connect those in series to double the voltage and then connect to one of these aviation style ports, then you'll be able to start charging via solar off of these two bigger 600 watt ports. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that if you've got a smaller solar panel and you try to hook it up to one of these ports and you're not seeing anything charge, it's because you didn't get up to that 32 volts minimum needed to have this power station recognize solar input and begin to charge. You can plug in 600 watts worth of solar panels to one aviation port. You can plug in your AC charging brick with a supplied charging cord to the other aviation style charging port and combine your total wattage input into this power station. So this power brick typically gets around 540 watts worth of charging from the wall in my testing. But as you can see, via charging from my home wall outlet, I'm able to get around 540 to 550 watts worth of power going into that. And you also have the option of buying an extra charging brick from Pecron, which I believe they sell for $149. So in theory, that means you could connect two of these to this power station via these two aviation ports and get up to 1,000 watts worth of home AC grid charging juice to get put back into this battery station. Now, Pecron does send with you in the box two of these, what I'm gonna call aviation ports to MC4 cable adapters. You get two of these. And this is kind of one of the things that I wish they didn't use. Now, aviation ports like they have here are pretty rare, and it's hard to find an MC4 to aviation style cord. So if you lose one of these, I guess you can make your own, but it's hard to find these cords. So I wish that they would have used like an XT60 or some other type of port that's a little more readily available in the event that you do lose these solar charging cables. I just kind of wish that Pecron would have used a more standard type port to charge these things, but it is what it is, and they work fine. Now here's an up-close view of the two aviation ports as well as the 5521 input for solar or AC charging. And you get 6 AC outlets, all with, I would say, a semi-waterproof type dust cover. These again are all rated up to 2,000 watts, not individually, all together up to 2,000 watts for all of your AC appliances. So over here on this side, you're going to get two 5525 barrel adapter outputs, as well as, of course, your cigarette style 12 volt output. Now the cigarette lighter is rated at 12 volt 10 amps, and the 5525 is 12 volt 3 amps. And then below that is going to be all of your USB ports. So on this first one, you're going to have a 100 watt power delivery, a 5 volt 2 amp USB-A. You're going to get an 18 watt power delivery, and again another 5 volt 2 amp USB-A, and then an 18 watt quick charge USB, and then another 5 volt 2 amp USB-A. And you're also going to get a wireless charging pad up top, and this is capable of charging a wireless capable device at up to 15 watts. Okay, now I will say, as far as the wireless charging pad up top, it does work fine. The only issue I've encountered is that I guess my phone case is too thick, so I have to take my phone out of the case when I set it on top of this pad for it to actually begin to charge. My other power stations that I have wireless charging on using the same case, they work. So I don't know if the guts inside this wireless charging aren't as strong as my other power stations. I do have to take off my case for it to actually recognize my phone when I put it on top. And over here on the side is where you're going to plug in your expansion batteries if you have one. And you also have two external fuses that you can replace easily. In the event that you do overextend this power station's capabilities, it will blow these fuses, and you can simply take these out and replace them. You know, and there's also no light on this unit, and I'm okay with that. I never use the lights on my power station, but I think that's one of the ways that Pecron is keeping the cost of this thing so low, is that they took out the light. You know, they have an external charging brick. This does not have a UPS function, so you cannot use this as an uninterruptible power supply, and it doesn't have an app, so you can't connect it to your phone. So they took some of the bells and whistles out of this thing, and for the most part, everything that's on it, I think is gonna get you through the weekend just fine. And again, it's 67 cents a watt hour. I'm not gonna complain about not having an app. Let's do a few tests and see what we can run off of this little power station to make sure that everything's working fine and you guys can see what this thing's capable of. Okay, so let's test the AC inverter, and I'm gonna be using a 1500 watt heat gun right now. So to turn the AC inverter on, you just press and hold this bottom round button, get that inverter kicked on, and let's get this thing started full blast. And we're pulling 1400 watts, no issues. So you can see here we're pulling 750 watts. Fans haven't even kicked on yet. Okay, now I also have a 500 watt space heater, and this should trip it. Yep, so it went over 2000 watts and it shut down. So again, that surge capability is very, very short. The battery's protecting itself because I was trying to put more into it than what it's rated for. Let's cut that AC back on to see if both of these come back on. Yep, there we go, 1760 watts. So anything over 2000 watts, it's gonna run it for around a split second and then trip the power station. But this thing's running just fine at around 1750 watts, which is where I would be comfortable running this thing if I was gonna push it to its max. I don't like to get things right up to 2000 watts if that's what it's rated for. As you can tell here, it's running these just fine. Okay, now the other thing I like to do is to test how clean this energy actually is that this power station produces. So we're gonna hook up a multimeter. 368 watts running, we're getting almost 120 volts. And we'll check out the sine wave. Fairly clean sine wave. There's a slight bit of noise, but definitely is a sine wave. So overall, clean energy coming out of this thing. Okay, so next test I wanted to show you folks is these power delivery ports are actually input and output capable. So I wanted to see how much this 100 watt power delivery port actually provided. And I have it hooked up to my Energizer power station, and you can see that this Pecron is providing about 93 watts worth of juice out of the 100 watt power delivery port. And here I have it plugged up to the 18 watt output power delivery port, and we are going to slowly climb up to hopefully around, and we're actually getting 20 watts worth of charging juice out of the 18 watt power delivery port. So I'm going to give those two scores a pass that the power delivery port output option works fine off of this unit. So probably for the most important test that you guys are interested in is I did a DC discharge capacity test on this unit, as you can see here. So I plugged up my DC capacity tester, I charged the Pecron up to 100%, and I let that capacity tester run this thing all the way down to 0 until it cut off. And I was able to get a total of 1647 watt hours pulled out of this unit running that test, which equates to about 86%. Now what's interesting about that result is 86% is in my opinion a very good score. If I didn't see any other YouTube reviews on this power station, I would say that's great. The funny thing is Jason over at Jasonoid, who does fantastic power station reviews, he got 95% efficiency rating off of this power station. So I don't know what the disconnect is between my power station and his power station. And in fact, I ran it twice and I was right around the 650 watt hour mark when I ran this unit on both tests. Now my garage, we're cold right here in Texas. We're freezing actually, and it's around 42 degrees in my garage, and cold weather does affect these batteries. I don't know if that has a play in that result or not, but I was a little bit surprised to see that I didn't get at least 90% after watching his review. So, but again, I'll take 86% all day long for any power station that I review, but after seeing his review where he got 95%, I was a little disappointed that this unit didn't get at least 90%. So take that with a grain of salt. I got 86, he got 95%. And the other important test that I did on this power station is a DC cutoff test, meaning if I turn the DC function of this unit on, will it cut itself off if it does not have a power draw? And that's important because a lot of us use these to run 12 volt compressor style refrigerators on camping trips or in an RV. And the good news is this does not have a DC cutoff built into it, because I left this thing running connected to my 12 volt cooler overnight for 17 hours and it did not cut off, because you can leave a 12-volt fridge hooked up to this thing overnight and not worry about this machine cutting off if it doesn't detect any power draw coming from that cooler, because the compressor coolers don't run continuously. So that's another thumbs up in my book for this power station, is that I can keep a cooler hooked up to this overnight and not worry about this actually cutting the cooler off, because that DC function stays on the entire time. So that's the wrap of this Pecron review. I'm gonna go over some cons and some pros, because it wouldn't be fair if I didn't give both. But overall, my honest assessment of this unit is it's a darn good value for what you're getting. I love the form factor. I love how small this is. I can pick this up very easily. It is 48 pounds, but with the two handles, I can pick it up and move it around very easily. And it's not a huge power station. So you can put it into little nooks and crannies of your RV or in your truck camper, and it'll fit very easily. I love the fact that you can expand this up to 8,000 watt hours. And I'm really hoping I can get my hands on one, because I think this would be a perfect solution for my truck camper in the summer running my Zero Breeze Mark II, because that thing pulls around 400 watts. And if I could get an expandable battery, this along with the expandable battery would power that easily all night long. And since these are so small, this will fit in the back of my truck without being too cramped. And the overall build of this unit, it's a very solid unit. You know, you got your rubber type bumpers on all corners. There's no handle up top to get in the way. It's got your wireless charging pad, got the input output power deliveries, quick charge USB-A, 6 AC outlets, lithium iron phosphate, so it's got a lot of good things going for it. Now, a few of the cons that I have to point out to you folks are the fact that it's missing a few of the higher end components to this, being it does not have a UPS function, so you cannot use it as an emergency power supply. It does not have any wireless connectivity, so you can't download an app and monitor the usage from your phone on that. And you do have to use this giant power brick to actually charge it via the AC wall outlet. Now, again, that's one of the reasons this thing is able to be so small, is because they did not build this into the unit. It is separate, but if you do take this camping or out on your RV, this is just another piece of equipment that you have to take with you to charge this thing if you're going to be using AC power to charge it. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with this unit. And again, I've used it 3 times now on my other channel on actual camping videos, that if you guys want to go check out my other channel, I use it and it works fine, and it's been in very, very cold temperatures this month, and it has performed flawlessly. It's obviously charged my phones, it's ran my lights, it's ran my 12-volt heated blanket that I use. So I've put it through its paces a little bit this month. This summer, it's really going to get used with my portable air conditioning unit in the back of my truck. And again, if I can get that expansion battery, I'm not going to worry at all about camping off grid in the 105-degree heat of Texas, because I'll have more than enough power to keep that AC unit running all night long. But folks, I'm going to end this review of the Pecron E2000 here. I hope you found it useful and enjoyable, and we will see you soon on the next review. Take care. Thanks for watching.